Hello, my lovely friends. My name is Rue. How do you do? Welcome back to another Autism Chat. If you're new here, my name is Rue, and I was diagnosed with autism in October of 2021. Welcome. So, this is like a series on my channel that I've been doing now for a while, that people seem to like. So, it's just I talk about a specific topic and my experiences with it, and we just kind of ramble, and I also tap on something. So this is a little notepad that looks like a yarn ball. So I will be making tappy sounds throughout the video because this is an ASMR channel. So today, my lovely friends, I want to talk about masking, which I know I've mentioned before, and it's a pretty common topic amongst like autistic people, and I feel like it's particularly a thing in late diagnosed autistics because it's like what you had to do to get by and like pass or whatever, you know. But like masking is basically just like when an autistic person, or I mean I guess you don't have to be autistic, I'm sure there's other people who mask, but I just know about autism. So. But like, so you're basically performing neurotypicalism-ish. You're acting, what am I trying to say? You're acting like a neurotypical because that's what is expected of you. I can't talk today apparently. It's what is expected of you, and it's like how we have to act in order to be successful. And it's like also taught to young autistics, diagnosed young autistics. It's like the main form of therapy is like basically teaching them how to mask and be more neurotypical. And I won't get into that because obviously I personally didn't experience that, and I don't really like to talk about things I didn't experience, so, but you can look it up. It's a real thing. But I think we're getting better. I think we're getting slowly better to where we are leaning more into like we shouldn't be asking our children to hide their autistic traits to make us more comfortable, and like we should be more accepting of like differences and stuff. I think we still have a long way to go, but I feel like it's inching towards getting better. But I obviously wasn't diagnosed as a child, and so I learned it through my experiences. Like, no one told me straight out that I have to act this way. It was learned, you know? So, like, when I was young, I don't think I really masked. It didn't get really bad until I was an adult. Because I feel like my family is a bit odd. So, like, I don't think I was necessarily discouraged from being, less typical, whatever. And I don't think it started until you get a little older and the social rules start to complicate. That's when it started. And I actually don't know that I really masked per se, but I definitely became more quiet. I would have experiences where I was like, oh, that went really poorly. That person is upset, or that person thinks I'm weird. And I actually remember a very specific moment. I think it was like 4th or 5th grade, where I was like, okay, this happened again because I said what I wanted to say. I'm just not gonna say what I want to say anymore, and then this won't happen. Like, I literally remember that specific moment in time, making that decision, and I continued it like for the rest of my life, probably. So I like learned that the things I wanted to say were not, I don't know, appropriate, worth saying. Like, they were weird, and I just didn't want to have those interactions where people were uncomfortable or made fun of me or whatever. I don't even remember what triggered it. I just remember having this moment of like, that was awful. I'm just not gonna speak. Like, unless directly spoken to. And I was already quiet before that, you know? I was extremely quiet. But that's the thing that happened. That can't be normal. Anyway, so like in high school, I think I masked in the extent that I would just not talk, not show myself, not like I wasn't trying to perform. I was just like hiding myself because I didn't want to be made fun of or like whatever. Because I remember thinking, and this is horrible, I remember thinking there were like these kids on my bus who were like super into like Pokemon, and they were like super open about it, like super nerdy, wonderful, love it. But like at the time, I was like, look at them. They don't understand that you're supposed to hide that, like, or people will make fun of you. And like that's so sad thinking back that I thought I had to hide my hobbies and things so I wouldn't be made fun of. But I was like proud of myself that I did that because I was like, I know how not to get made fun of and like how to be less weird or whatever. Like I remember thinking this, and like I obviously don't feel that way now. I think you should lean into your interests. But yeah, so that was another thing. Like I knew what the way you were supposed to act. And I knew what was weird, quote unquote. And I just didn't express those parts of myself. I was just very quiet, very muted, very... Honestly, in high school, I didn't talk to anyone. So like, yeah, I don't remember when I started participating in like social niceties, but I feel like it was very, very late high school. Like, for example, when someone would ask, hey, how are you doing today? I would just say good and like walk away. Because I genuinely thought it was such a stupid interaction, because I was like, you don't care how I am. I don't care how you are. Like, why are we doing this? Let's end this as soon as possible. And I think I remember having a conversation like with my mom, like, why do I have to do this? This is dumb. And she's like, it's just like a way to be nice or something. Like, and like, I think I feel like I also had that sort of conversation about eye contact as well. I don't know. My memory is like really bad, so I just remember like important bits and pieces here and there. So like I was just a very strange, quiet child in high school. Like I remember, and I didn't want to be necessarily. It's just like I didn't know how not to be. I remember like in gym class we were just like sitting on the floor. It was like we were waiting for the bell to ring or something. And this guy, who was like a very nice guy, he was more in sort of the popular, I don't know, I guess he was popular, I don't really know. But he like turned around, he was like, hey, how are you doing? And I just like freaked out because I just wasn't, people didn't talk to me, and I was like, so I was just like, good? Like in a really weird way. And he was like, okay. And I was like, oh my gosh, why did you do that? He just talked to you and you were just so weird. And like, yeah, anyways, that's like how I was in high school. Just like, just not good at talking to people at all. So, okay, anyways, that is just to say, it wasn't until I got into adulthood when I really, really started building my mask, because I feel like you can't, I don't want to say you can't be successful without it, but like it feels that way. I'm sure there are businesses that allow you to be more autistic, but I don't feel like that's the norm or even common at all. So I knew that in order to be successful, I had to be a certain way. I knew this. Also, just a sidebar, not all autistic people can mask. So like, just putting that out there, because it is, I don't know, masking can be a safety mechanism. You know, it can protect you. And not every autistic person can mask. So it can be a positive thing in some situations, like where you need to hide your traits to be safe or whatever. So I wanted to say that really quick, because I meant to say it at the beginning of the video, but yeah, not every autistic person can mask. But obviously I learned to mask. So yeah, so basically I think I saw the people who were successful, who got along with people well, and I knew that I wasn't that person. And so I began taking bits and pieces from other people. And I didn't know what masking was. I didn't know what autism was. I didn't know anything. I just knew I needed to do this in order to be a successful human being. And so that's what I did. And I thought it was a good thing. I thought like every year that I gained a new layer was like a good thing. Like I was getting closer to perfection. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I started out learning how to do these like social niceties, these small talk things. And I would listen to people talk, and I would hear them use certain phrases, and I'm like, oh, that went over really well. I'm going to take that and use it. And I would watch people's body language and facial expressions, and I'd be like, that's good. I'm taking that. And I just like over the years slowly built these masking techniques. And like I've had a lot of jobs in my life because I think I burn out. And so like I also felt like every single new job I could put on more of a show. Like I could do better. And like I feel like the first few months I would be like really, really masky, really, really I don't know, on top of it, whatever. And then it would start to slip because I would just be too tired to do it. But like every new job I was like, all right, this is the job. I'm gonna be perfect. I'm gonna get it this time. And so it just like built and built and built and built and built. And then I started to have identity problems. Who could have predicted that? I started to notice this in my, I would say like mid-20s. I'm 31, by the way. So my mid-20s, I noticed that anytime I was social, like had a lot of social stuff that week, I would lose myself. I didn't know who I was. And I just remember having like a crisis about this, like, because I would watch other people interact in these like groups and stuff, and they're so interesting in themselves, and they talk about interesting things about their lives, and I'm just like this muted computer shooting out, you know, words that I think I'm supposed to say, and I don't know how to be myself around other people. And so if I had to be around people a lot that week, I would lose myself completely. And I'm like, I don't know who I am. I don't know how to be myself. I'm really boring. I'm really awful. Like, why is everyone so much better at this than me? And I think the point at which this really clicked for me, that this wasn't normal, was I asked my partner. I was like, so like before this, I was blaming all of this on being introverted. I was like, oh, well, I'm just an introvert, so. And he's an introvert as well. So I like asked him, I was like, do you feel this way when you socialize? Like, do you feel like not like yourself? And he was just kind of like, no. And then I was like, oh crap, I'm weird. Yeah, so I had a lot of identity problems, and it has really messed me up, honestly. Like, I genuinely don't know how to be around people and also be myself, except for my partner. He's the only exception, and I don't know how to replicate that again. He's a wonderful human being. But yeah, it's just, so many years of doing that. I don't know how to undo that, to be honest. And I have social anxiety, and masking is now like my safety net. It's like what I just go to. It's what I default to because it's the only thing that's there when I'm like really stressed. It's like, oh, I got these scripts, shoot them out. Or I'm just quiet. So yeah, masking can be a safety mechanism for autistic people, but it's also incredibly harmful. It's exhausting. It can give us identity problems and so much stress because it's exhausting. You can't do that all the time. It's exhausting. So the fact that the number one therapy for autistic kids is teaching them how to mask is really sad and troubling because it really does have horrible effects on us. And it wasn't until I started learning about autism and masking that it all started to make sense. And this was, I was 20. Oh my gosh, how old was I? Maybe 28, I want to say, is when I started reading about autism. And it was a really long process. But when I initially started looking up autism, and this is a whole other story, but I would have these epic meltdowns, and then I would go on Google and be like, what is wrong with me? And this night I just ended up looking up autism for some reason. And that's when things started to click. One of these days I will tell the story of why I got a diagnosis, but that's a big one. That's a big topic. So anyways, it was when I started researching autism that I realized what I was doing. And I started joining autistic groups on Facebook because that's how I learn about things. It's I'm okay, I'm interested in this thing. I need to talk to other people who are also interested in this thing. So I'd go to Facebook groups and particularly diagnosy type things. I feel it's much more helpful to talk to people with the thing than it is to talk to medical professionals because they know what it's like to live with, So I've done this for other health related things too, and it's pretty helpful. Anyways, tangent. So I started lurking in these groups and reading topics, and I remember this specific one that was talking about identity problems and how when they were around people a lot, they would lose their identity. And I remember reading this post and I think I cried because I had never heard anyone talk about this before, and I felt like such a weirdo. And I was oh my gosh, I'm not alone. This is because I've been masking. And it really clicked. And it's been a long process, but I've been unlearning that, which I don't think I've figured out how to be around people and not mask, but alone. I don't do it alone. Because that's the other thing. I feel like you do it when you're by yourself too. I don't know. Anyways, I stopped trying to suppress my hobbies and do what I thought I was supposed to do, and started leaning into these things that I felt good about, passionate about, whatever. And I started to discover who the heck I am because I had lost myself for many years, and I didn't know, what I liked, what I thought, who I was. I didn't know who I was. And these past few years have been really, really healing in that sense because, I've been going back to things I liked when I was a child and hobbies I really enjoy, and just like not shaming myself at all for anything and just doing it. And it's been really, really healing. I feel like when I'm by myself or like with my partner, I know who I am now. I know who I am. It's when I have to be around other people that I have issues with it. So I'm still working on it, but I definitely feel a lot more secure in my identity now than I did a few years ago. And it feels really good. It feels so good to really embrace who you are, like naturally, and not like try to be this version of yourself that you feel like you're supposed to be, and like hiding these traits that you think are bad. But like, one of the main thing that's helped with this is like quitting my traditional full-time job and working on my own, because when I'm by myself, I know who I am. I know, like, I don't mask, obviously. And so I've had all this time to just be alone and be with myself and figure out who the heck I am. And that's huge. But this is like one of the reasons I had to quit a traditional job, is because, like I said, masking is incredibly exhausting, incredibly like mentally, emotionally like taxing, and it leads to burnout, which I am unfortunately very familiar with, and it's horrible. And I'm doing so much better now, but I'm still getting over it, a year and a half, like, after I quit my job. It's just, we need to do better. We need to do better with our workspaces and how we work, because it's just not, I don't think it's possible I shouldn't make like blanket statements, but it's very difficult for an autistic person to have a traditional job and like thrive. At least that's how I feel. Which, that's not good. It's not good. And I'm sure it's not just autism either. Like, there's other neurodivergences or disabilities or whatever that make it extremely hard to get by. I mean, let's be honest though, it's hard for everyone. Like, these systems we have are not good. But yeah, I think we're inching closer towards being more accepting, very slowly. But until then, I think there will be a lot of masking. And I just also, like, if you're in this process, like, don't feel bad if you can't unmask in certain situations. Like, it is like a learned safety mechanism. And also don't feel bad if you can't mask. Like, not everyone can, and I know that can put you in a lot of difficult situations as well. So it's a tough topic. I don't know if I did it justice. Like, I just kind of skimmed over my experience with it. It's obviously a very complicated topic. But yeah, I felt like I should probably talk about it because it is a pretty big thing. But anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know that I love you exactly the way you are. You are welcome here always. You are beautiful, wonderful people. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. And I will see you in my next video.